Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and we are going to have some fun watercoloring. Very simple watercoloring. For this, I'm using a stamp set from Paper Rose, and it's called It's Your Day, and it's a 4x4 stamp set. It's a beautiful ballerina's outfit. So I'm going to position that in my stamp tool with the sentiment, and I'm going to use my VersaFine black ink to stamp this. I am using Canson XL watercolor paper, and I've cut that down to 3 3/4 by 5. Now that I have that stamped, I waited a little bit for it to dry, and now we're just going to do some very simple coloring. So I'm using my Mission Gold watercolors, and I have a very light wash of pink, and I'm just filling that in the areas of the stamp set. Now, what I love about this stamp set, it's got that distress look. It's not, doesn't have clear lines. So that helps us to create our messy watercolor. Once I have that first layer down, I used my heat tool to dry it. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit darker of a wash. It's the same color that I'm using so far. And I'm just going over the lines and putting a lot of that color up where it gathers at the waist and along the side, or where the lines are, because that's signifying a fold where it would be darker looking. And I'm just going in those areas with that. Now the center V part, I added a little bit of orange to give me a coral. My next layer is I'm adding a little bit of purple to that pink because I want it to get a little bit darker, and I'm actually just flicking the watercolor on. Again, every layer it's dry because I'm not using a lot of water, so it's able to dry. So this is I believe they call this glazing with a watercolor. And then if I have that harsh line and I don't want that there, I'm coming in with some clean water just to smooth that out. But again, I want all of these darker colors to sit up into that waistband. So here I'm going to come in with my heat tool again. I'm going to dry it. And again, making sure that this doesn't get too warped as I'm using that heat tool. So heating to the front, heating to the back, bending it just to get that flat again. Now I'm going to come in with another darker. I'm adding more purple to that layer. And again, it's a flicking motion that I'm doing with my brush to just add these shadows for the image. So every time I just made sure that it was dry, adding in a little bit deeper of a color, but staying with that same tone. Now I'm creating a huge light blue wash, and I'm coming in with a larger brush, and I'm just going to go around the edge, put that color down, and then come in with a clean brush. It's water on there, and I'm just pushing that little bit of color that I put down on that side. I'm pushing that out and really fading it out to the end. I just wanted a soft effect of the color. And for the inside, since I couldn't push that out, I used my paper towel to sop up the water, but I still have the color there. So if I thought that it was a little bit too deep and I didn't want to smear it out because of where I was, I just picked it up with my paper towel. I'm going to make sure that this is dry by using my heat tool. So I'm heating it from the front and the back, and this keeps it pretty well flat. Just going to wiggle that a little bit. And I kept my stamp still on my stamp positioning tool. I'm going to stamp that again, and I'm going to come in with some clear embossing powder. This is my Recollections Clear. And I'm just going to go over that so that I can have that shiny effect coming down the dress and for the sentiment. So you saw how quick, now I know I'm speeding up the video, but you saw how quick that went with that watercolor. Very basic, very simple. I'm now going to come in with some white watercolor. This is my P.H. Martin's bleed proof white. And I'm going to put a little bit on my palette, add some water to it, and I'm just going to do a few flecks up onto this piece. I do not do many, which is very surprising because you know me. For those of you that know, you know I love my blizzards. Got to have that snow blizzard come in. But I did it very lightly this time. And I stayed up onto the dress. I didn't want it to go all over. I'm going to set that side to dry. And I've taken a panel of petal mirror cardstock. And I've cut that down to be 4 by 5 1/4. And I cut out the center because if there's a cardstock that I definitely hoard, it's my mirrors. I love my mirror cardstocks and my glitters and all of that. I'm using my double-sided tape to put my panel down onto that. And I'm just checking to make sure that those splatters are dry so that I don't smear them, because that's usually what I do. I'm going to be setting this panel up onto a black mat that's going to be cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to use my double-sided foam tape along the back of this. I do not recommend that double-sided tape, so I'm not telling you where I got it. And I'm just going to have that propped up onto that panel. And then this will go onto my card base, my A2 size card base, which of course is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Just adding some double-sided tape there. Because of the double-sided tape that I put underneath that, this was watercolored, I like to make sure that I have a lot of strength when it comes to putting these layers together, whether it's with double-sided tape with liquid adhesive, or just using that liquid adhesive. I grabbed some of my Eggshell Pearls, and I'm just placing them along this image. There are some big splatters. Again, it's got that distress feel to it. And I'm putting the pearls on them. And I'm using all different sizes just to fill the base of that skirt up. And just placing them all around. It looks like it's fizzing. I just love this stamp. I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous. And since it says it's your day, it can be used for any celebration. Any wonderful celebration. So I'm just continuing to add those, finding the size that I want. I find I struggle with pearls, you know, finding that size. And they go all over the place. Yes, they do. And that is our card. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I gave you some ideas for your watercoloring. It doesn't have to be complicated. We are card makers. We are not creating a landscape. So we can have fun with our watercolors. The products that I used will be listed down below if you wanted to check them out. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave those down below as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up. Enjoy your time. Enjoy creating your art, because that is what you are doing. I will always tell you that. But most of all, always remember what's most important. Always be creative. And I'll talk to you in the next one, guys. Take care.